The alien exploration vessel HFY silently emerged from the void of hyperspace, its captain and crew scanning the unassuming backwater planet known as Earth. They were immediately perplexed to detect the telltale signs of advanced railgun technology. Powerful coil guns capable of launching projectiles at hypervelocity speeds. How could we have missed the development of such formidable weapons on this primitive world? The commander wondered aloud, his brow furrowed in consternation. Ensign Crichton, that HFY's chief science officer, studied the readings intently. The humans have made remarkable progress, Commander. Their railguns demonstrate a level of technological sophistication we did not anticipate. He paused, his tentacles twitching with fascination. If they have advanced this far, who knows what other surprises their civilization may hold? The commander stroked his chin, his eyes narrowed in thought. This changes everything. We must reevaluate our entire approach to first contact. He turned to his first officer. Initiate a full covert surveillance operation. I want to know everything about these railguns, how they work, where they are deployed, and the extent of the human military's capabilities. At once, Commander. The first officer hurried to relay the orders, her movements efficient and precise. The rest of the bridge crew sprang into action, their fingers dancing across consoles as they established a comprehensive monitoring network throughout the planet's information systems. As the HFY went dark, cloaking its presence, the commander gazed out the viewport at the swirling blue-green orb below. Remarkable, he murmured, his voice tinged with a mixture of wonder and unease. These humans have proven themselves to be far more advanced than our initial assessments suggested. We must tread carefully from this point forward. In the days that followed, that HFY's covert operatives infiltrated human databases, sifting through vast troves of data on railgun technology. They uncovered detailed schematics, deployment strategies, and even classified research on next-generation designs. The scope of the human achievement was nothing short of breathtaking. Dr. Sarah Johnson, a leading expert on railgun systems, emerged as a key figure in the alien surveillance efforts. Her publications and public lectures provided valuable insights into the engineering principles behind the weapons, as well as their practical applications. The HFY's crew studied her work with rapt attention, their respect for humanity's ingenuity growing with each new discovery. This Dr. Johnson is quite remarkable, Crichton remarked during one of the commander's briefings. Her understanding of the physics involved is truly impressive. The humans have clearly devoted considerable resources to developing these railguns. The commander nodded slowly. Yes, and that is precisely what concerns me. Such advanced military technology in the hands of a species we know so little about. He trailed off, his expression darkening. We must tread carefully, Crichton. One wrong move could have catastrophic consequences. Crichton hesitated, his tentacles fidgeting. Then, you still believe first contact should be postponed, even with the potential benefits this technology could offer our civilization. The commander sighed heavily. I wish I knew the answer, my friend. But for now, our priority must be to gather as much intelligence as possible. Only then can we make an informed decision about how to proceed. He turned his gaze back to the planet below, his mind racing with the implications of their discovery. What other wonders, or terrors, might this unassuming world hold? The HFY's crew knew they had stumbled upon a pivotal moment in their long history of interstellar exploration. The fate of both their civilizations now hung in the balance. Initiating a covert observation mission, the HFY infiltrated Earth's information networks, studying the widespread deployment of railguns for both military and civilian applications. They were impressed by the power and versatility of the human invention, from city defense systems to mass transit infrastructure. Dr. Sarah Johnson, a leading expert on the technology, emerged as a key point of focus for the alien surveillance team. Her research papers and public lectures provided invaluable insights into the engineering principles behind railguns, as well as their practical uses. This Dr. Johnson is a remarkable individual, Crichton, that HFY's chief science officer, remarked during a briefing with the commander. Her understanding of the underlying physics is truly impressive. The humans have clearly devoted considerable resources to developing these weapons. The commander nodded solemnly. Yes, and that is precisely what concerns me. Such advanced military technology in the hands of a species we know so little about. He trailed off, his expression darkening. We must tread carefully, Crixon. One wrong move could have catastrophic consequences. Crixon hesitated, his tentacles fidgeting. Then, you still believe first contact should be postponed, even with the potential benefits this technology could offer our civilization. The commander sighed heavily. I wish I knew the answer, my friend. But for now, our priority must be to gather as much intelligence as possible. Only then can we make an informed decision about how to proceed. He turned his gaze back to the planet below, his mind racing with the implications of their discovery. As the Xerx's covert operatives continued to monitor Earth's information networks, they uncovered an ever-expanding trove of data on railgun technology. Detailed schematics, deployment strategies, and classified research on next-generation designs. The scope of the human achievement was nothing short of breathtaking. The aliens marveled at the versatility of the railguns, which were utilized not only for military purposes, but also in civilian infrastructure, high-speed transit systems, power generation, and even city defense. These primitive-seeming humans have found ingenious applications for their advanced weaponry. It is truly remarkable, Crixon said, his voice tinged with awe. The level of scientific and engineering sophistication displayed by these Earthlings is far beyond what our initial assessments suggested. They have made tremendous strides in a remarkably short period of time. The commander nodded, his expression pensive. Yes, and that is what concerns me the most. If they have advanced this far with railguns, who knows what other technological wonders, or terrors, their civilization may hold. We must proceed with the utmost caution. As the Xerx's surveillance continued, the crew became increasingly fascinated by the human species. Their ingenuity, resourcefulness, and adaptability were qualities the aliens had not anticipated. It was clear that Earth's inhabitants were no mere primitives, but a burgeoning civilization with the potential to rival the galactic community. The commander's concerns, however, only grew stronger with each new discovery. The power and versatility of the railguns were undeniable, but the implications of such advanced weaponry in the hands of an unpredictable species were deeply troubling. The fate of both their civilizations now hung in the balance, and the Xerx's crew knew they must tread carefully if they were to navigate this delicate situation. Time passed, and the alien vessel continued its covert observation, gathering ever more data on the humans and their remarkable railgun technology. The commander, his brow furrowed in contemplation, knew that a decision would soon have to be made, one that could profoundly shape the future of both their worlds. As the Xerx crew continued their analysis of Earth's railgun technology, tensions began to rise among the alien vessel's officers. While some were fascinated by the human ingenuity on display, others saw the weapons as a grave threat that needed to be neutralized. These railguns pose an unacceptable risk to the galactic community, argued Commander Silov, the Xerx's chief tactical officer. If we allow the humans to continue developing such advanced military capabilities, they could pose a destabilizing influence throughout the sector. We must take action to disable or confiscate this technology before it's too late. Crixon, the science officer, shook his head vehemently. You oversimplify the situation, Silov. These humans have shown remarkable creativity and innovation in their application of railgun technology. Who's to say they couldn't be valuable allies if approached properly? The commander raised a tentacle, silencing the heated debate. Both of you make valid points. However, we cannot afford to act rashly. The implications of our decisions here will have far-reaching consequences, not just for our own civilization, but for the entire galactic order. He turned to face the crew, his expression grave. We must proceed with the utmost caution. Continued surveillance and analysis is our top priority. Only then can we determine the best course of action. whether that means making first contact or taking more drastic measures. Psylot's eyes narrowed, his tentacles twitching with barely contained frustration. And what of the risk in the meantime? Every day we delay, the humans grow more advanced, more capable of wielding those railguns against us. We cannot afford to underestimate them again. The commander held up a tentacle. I understand your concern, Tyloth, but reckless action could jeopardize everything we've worked for. We must tread carefully, consider all the possibilities, both the potential benefits and the potential dangers. Crixon nodded in agreement. The commander is right. These humans have shown themselves to be far more sophisticated than we ever imagined. We owe it to ourselves and to the greater galactic community to thoroughly understand their capabilities before deciding our next move. The tension in the room was palpable as the officers wrestled with the gravity of their situation. The fate of two civilizations hung in the balance, and they knew that a single misstep could have catastrophic consequences. The commander turned his gaze toward the planet below, his tentacles twitching with uncertainty. We must be willing to adapt our approach as the situation evolves. Rigidity will only lead to our downfall. He paused, his expression hardening. But make no mistake, if these humans prove to be a true threat, I will not hesitate to take whatever actions are necessary to protect our people. With that, the meeting was adjourned, the Exerix's crew returning to their stations to continue the covered observation. The weight of their decision hung heavy in the air, as they struggled to reconcile their fascination with the humans' technological prowess and the nagging fear of what it might mean for the future of both their civilizations. Disaster struck when a human weapons test caused a catastrophic malfunction, nearly exposing the cloaked Exerix. Alarms blared throughout the alien vessel as its advanced sensors detected the sudden spike in energy emissions from the distant testing facility. Report, the commander barked, his calm demeanor belying the urgency of the situation. Crixon's tentacles danced across his console as he analyzed the incoming data. It appears to be a catastrophic failure of one of the human railgun prototypes. The energy surge has temporarily disrupted our cloaking field. We are at risk of being detected. The commander's eyes narrowed. Unacceptable. We cannot afford to be exposed, not when we are so close to understanding the full scope of this technology. He turned to the tactical officer. Xyloth, initiate a surgical strike to disable that facility immediately. We must eliminate the threat before the humans can respond. Xyloth's mandibles clicked in acknowledgement. At once, Commander. He relayed the order to the weapons team, fingers flying across the console as he synchronized the Exerix's armaments. Moments later, a series of precisely targeted energy beams lanced out from the cloaked vessel, converging on the distant testing site. The human facility was engulfed in a series of powerful explosions, its railgun arrays reduced to molten slag. But the Exerix's triumph was short-lived. As the smoke cleared, the alien crew watched in dismay as human military forces scrambled to respond, their own railguns unleashing a devastating counterattack. Shields at 67% and falling. One of the bridge officers reported, her voice tinged with alarm. Their weapons are far more powerful than our initial scans indicated. The commander gripped the arms of his chair, his tentacles tightening in frustration. Divert all available power to the shields. Prepare to execute an emergency jump to hyperspace. We cannot afford to be captured or destroyed here. The Exerix shuddered as the human railguns pounded its weakening defenses. Escape seemed impossible, the alien vessel trapped in a maelstrom of energy projectiles and debris. In a last-ditch effort, the commander turned to his first officer. Signal a retreat. We must fall back and regroup. This mission has become far too perilous. He paused, his expression grim, and informed the crew to prepare for the possibility that we may not all survive this encounter. The first officer hesitated for a moment, then relayed the orders with a heavy heart. Around the bridge, the alien crew braced themselves, their faces etched with a mixture of fear and determination. As the Exerix's engines strained to tear the vessel free of the human onslaught, The commander gazed out at the blue-green orb below, his mandibles set in a tight line. "Primitive no more," he murmured, his voice tinged with a hint of awe and unease. "These humans have truly surprised us, and I fear the worst is yet to come." With a final burst of energy, the HFY lurched into hyperspace, its damaged systems groaning in protest. The alien crew could only watch as the Earth grew smaller in their viewports, their encounter with humanity's formidable railguns leaving them shaken and uncertain of what the future might hold. Limping away from Earth, the battered HFY crew was shaken by the tenacity and resourcefulness of the human defenders. The commander realized they had grossly underestimated the technological capabilities of this seemingly primitive species. As the HFY's damaged systems strained to maintain their tenuous hold on the fabric of hyperspace, the alien crew huddled in somber silence, nursing their wounds both physical and mental. The skirmish with Earth's railguns had been a humbling, even terrifying experience. I cannot believe the power of those weapons," Crixon murmured, his tentacles twitching with a mix of awe and trepidation. "Their ability to inflict such devastation upon our shields, it surpasses anything we anticipated." The commander let out a heavy sigh, his mandibles clicking together in a gesture of weary contemplation. "Indeed, we made a grave error in our assessment of the humans. Their technological progress has outpaced our expectations by a significant margin." He turned to face his science officer, his eyes narrowing. "Which begs the question, what other surprises might this backwater world have in store?" Crixon lowered his gaze, his expression troubled. "I confess, I do not know. Their railguns alone have proven to be a formidable deterrent. But if they are capable of such advancements, who is to say what other innovations they may have yet to unveil?" He paused, his tentacles fidgeting with unease. "The implications are unsettling, to say the least." The commander nodded grimly. "Precisely. We can no longer afford to dismiss the humans as mere primitives. Their potential poses a grave risk to the delicate balance of power in this sector." He turned his attention to the damaged systems, his brow furrowed in concentration. "We must retreat, regroup, and reevaluate our approach. Clearly, our initial plans for first contact are no longer viable." A somber silence fell over the bridge as the HFY's crew contemplated the gravity of their situation. Their encounter with Earth's railguns had shattered their confidence, forcing them to confront the unsettling reality that this backwater world was far more advanced and potentially dangerous than they had ever imagined. As the vessel lurched through the distorted fabric of hyperspace, the commander's mind raced with contingency plans and worst-case scenarios. The fate of his crew, and perhaps the entire galactic community, now hinged on their ability to adapt to this new and formidable threat. "Prepare a full report for the Council," the commander instructed, his voice steady despite the turmoil that raged within. "They must be made aware of the true extent of the humans' technological prowess. Only then can we hope to devise a suitable strategy to address this challenge." The first officer nodded solemnly, already drafting the communique in her mind. "It will be done, Commander. Though I fear the Council may not take kindly to the news of our failure." The commander's mandibles tightened in a grim smile. "Failure? No, my friend. This was merely the first skirmish in what may prove to be a long and arduous campaign. We have underestimated the humans once, a mistake we cannot afford to repeat." He turned his gaze back to the viewport, his expression resolute. "The fate of our civilization may very well depend on our ability to adapt and overcome this new threat. And I, for one, have no intention of going down without a fight." Back on the alien homeworld, the HFY's encounter with humanity's railguns sparked a galactic-wide reassessment of the threat posed by the developing civilization on Earth. Prominent scientists and military strategists debated the implications of the human technological breakthrough, their discussions tinged with a mix of fascination and unease. "These railguns are a game-changer," declared Vexrin, a respected weapons engineer. "The power and precision they demonstrated against the HFY's defenses is simply staggering. If this is the pinnacle of human military technology, we must consider them a serious threat to the stability of the entire sector. Ariana, a renowned xenobiologist, raised a tentative claw. But should we not also consider the potential benefits of establishing contact? Perhaps these humans possess other innovations that could prove invaluable to our civilization. We should not be so quick to dismiss them as mere primitives. The debate raged on, with each side presenting compelling arguments. Some advocated for immediate action to neutralize the human threat, while others argued for a more cautious, diplomatic approach. The council chambers echoed with the sound of heated discussions as the fate of Earth hung in the balance. Finally, the presiding elder raised a tentacle, silencing the room. It is clear that we underestimated the technological prowess of this backwater world. That Xerx's report has given us much to consider. He fixed the gathered experts with a steady gaze. We must proceed with the utmost caution. Any rash decision could have catastrophic consequences, both for our civilization and for the humans. The elder turned to that Xerx's commander, who had been summoned to provide a first-hand account of the encounter. You and your crew have performed a great service in bringing this information to our attention. Now we must determine the appropriate course of action. The commander stepped forward, his mandibles clicking softly. Honored elders, I must stress the gravity of the situation. The humans have proven themselves to be far more advanced than our initial assessments suggested. Their railguns are a formidable weapon, and I fear they may possess even greater technological marvels yet to be unveiled. He paused, his tentacles twitching with a mixture of respect and trepidation. While the potential benefits of establishing contact cannot be ignored, I believe we must also consider the very real risks. These humans are unpredictable, and their growing technological prowess could destabilize the delicate balance of power in this sector. The elders murmured amongst themselves, their expressions pensive. The weight of the decision they faced was palpable, for the future of their entire civilization now hung in the balance. We will convene to deliberate on this matter, the presiding elder announced, his voice solemn. The Xerx's crew will remain on standby, ready to provide any additional information we may require. As the council members filed out of the chamber, the commander turned to Crixon, his expression troubled. I fear the path ahead will not be an easy one, my friend. The humans have proven themselves to be a far greater challenge than we ever imagined. Crixon nodded solemnly, his tentacles reaching out to grasp the commander's arm in a gesture of solidarity. Then we must be prepared to face that challenge head-on, whatever it may bring. The fate of our people depends on it. The two aliens exchanged a weighted look, their minds racing with the implications of the council's impending decision. The future, once so certain, now hung in the balance, held hostage by the remarkable and potentially dangerous technological prowess of the human civilization. Convinced that harnessing the human innovation could give their own civilization a crucial advantage, a faction of the alien council proposed opening diplomatic relations with Earth. After heated debate, the council narrowly approved a new exploratory mission, tasking that Xerx to make first contact and assess the possibility of an alliance. The commander, now more cautious than ever, prepared to return to the blue-green world, hoping to forge a delicate partnership. As he reviewed the mission parameters, a sense of trepidation crept into his mind. Their previous encounter with the human railguns had left a lasting impression, and he knew that any misstep could have catastrophic consequences. We must approach this with the utmost care, the commander said, addressing his senior officers. The humans have proven themselves to be a force to be reckoned with. One wrong move, and we could find ourselves on the wrong end of their devastating weaponry. Crixon nodded solemnly, his tentacles twitching with a mixture of anticipation and unease. Agreed. We cannot afford to underestimate them again. Our very survival may depend on our ability to establish a productive relationship with this species. The commander turned his gaze to the gathered crew, his expression grave. That is precisely why I have chosen each of you to accompany me on this mission. Your skills and expertise will be crucial in navigating the complexities of first contact. He paused, his mandibles tightening in a determined expression. "We may be facing the greatest challenge our civilization has ever encountered, but I have faith in your abilities and in our ability to adapt and overcome." The officers straightened their posture, their eyes alight with a renewed sense of purpose. They knew the stakes were high, but the prospect of forging an alliance with a species capable of such remarkable technological feats was too tempting to ignore. As the Exarchs prepared to depart, the commander turned to his first officer, his voice low and serious. "Maintain a constant state of vigilance. At the first sign of trouble, you are to execute an emergency withdrawal. I will not risk the lives of this crew needlessly." The first officer nodded, her expression resolute. "Understood, Commander. We will be ready, no matter what the humans have in store for us." With that, the Exarchs fired up its engines and slipped back into the distorted fabric of hyperspace, its crew steeling themselves for the challenges that lay ahead. The fate of their civilization hung in the balance, and they knew that the success or failure of this mission would reverberate through the stars for generations to come. As the alien vessel hurtled towards Earth, the commander couldn't help but reflect on the remarkable journey that had brought them to this point. What awaited them on that distant world, he could scarcely imagine. But one thing was certain: they would face it with a renewed sense of caution, tempered by a deep respect for the ingenuity and resilience of the human species. With its systems repaired, the Exarchs once again approached Earth, this time with a mandate to establish peaceful relations. The alien crew, led by the now resolute commander, approached the task with utmost care and respect, determined not to repeat the mistakes of their previous encounter. As the Exarchs settled into a stable orbit around the planet, the commander convened his senior officers for a final briefing. "Remember, we must proceed with the utmost caution. These humans have proven themselves to be a formidable adversary, and we cannot afford to underestimate them again." Crixon nodded, his tentacles twitching with a mixture of apprehension and determination. "Agreed. Our approach this time must be one of partnership, not confrontation. We must demonstrate our good intentions and our willingness to learn from them." The commander turned his gaze to the rest of the crew. "Each of you has been handpicked for this mission because of your unique skills and expertise. You will be the ambassadors of our civilization, tasked with forging a bond with the humans that could benefit both our worlds." He paused, his mandibles tightening in a serious expression. "But make no mistake, we must also remain vigilant. At the first sign of hostility, you are to retreat immediately. I will not risk the lives of this crew, no matter the potential rewards." The officers nodded in understanding, their faces etched with a renewed sense of purpose. They knew the stakes were high, but the opportunity to establish an alliance with a species capable of such remarkable technological achievements was simply too tempting to ignore. With a heavy sigh, the commander turned to the pilot. "Initiate first contact protocols. Let us see if we can convince the humans that we come in peace." That Exarch's communications array crackled to life, transmitting a carefully crafted message of goodwill and cooperation. As the signal reached the distant planet, the alien crew held their collective breath, waiting anxiously for a response. Moments later, a reply came, its content cautious but not openly hostile. The human leaders, it seemed, were willing to at least entertain the possibility of an encounter with the alien visitors. "They have agreed to a meeting," the communications officer announced, her tentacles trembling slightly. "They are curious about our intentions and are willing to discuss a peaceful coexistence." The commander nodded, a glimmer of hope igniting in his chest. "Excellent. Prepare a diplomatic party to make the first descent to the surface. We must seize this opportunity to demonstrate our sincerity and build the foundations of trust." As the selected crew members made their final preparations, the commander turned his gaze once more to the planet below. The blue-green world, once the subject of his deepest concerns, now held the promise of a brighter future, if only they could navigate the delicate dance of first contact. The fate of our civilizations rests on our shoulders, he murmured, his voice tinged with a mixture of trepidation and resolve. Let us hope that we are up to the task. With that, the Xerxes shuttles detached, their alien passengers descending towards the surface of Earth, their mission to forge a lasting alliance with the remarkable human species. The stage was set for a complex and potentially momentous encounter, the future of both worlds hanging precariously in the balance.